Hey all of you, hope you guys are great. So in the last video we have worked on our profile component. So if you haven't watched, make sure to watch that. In this video we're going to work on our other component. So here I'm into the project, and this time we have done with the button, we have done with the card component, checkbox, donate, filter, footer, form. We haven't done with the header. We're going to do that, and we can come back here in the loader. And actually we don't need the loader component because we are using our logo component to display as a loader. So remove this one, loader. Come back here in the index and we can remove this one, and come here, remove this one, save it, close this one. And now let's go to the other component. So this time we're going to work on but before we work on a header component, we have to work on a login component. So let's start working on it. Click on here. We have to write the JSX only because CSS is already ready. All we have to do is to copy the CSS and paste the CSS in the login CSS file. So let's import React, and we get the use state. Then we have to import the XCS because we have to make an API request. Then we have to do the internal import, and we have to import the CSV file and log file, and that's coming from the CSV index. Then we have to import the CSS file. Then we have to import the notification component because when someone will successfully log into the application, we have to display the notification that you are logged in. So that's the component we need here, and that's coming from index. Then we have to work on our component. So we'll say login. It's going to receive couple of props. So set login, set sign up, notification, and set notification. So these are the props we're going to receive in our login component. Now we have to make an API request, and that's how we're going to log in our application. So let's build the API request here. So we'll take a function. So we'll take a variable called user, set user, and initially it will be contain couple of information. So we need the email ID and the password of the user, so he can log into the application. So we can make an API request, and we're going to take it as a type of object. So let's take its email. This will be a password, and that's the user information we are taking for logging. Now come here, we have to take a function, call a function called handle form input change. So this is the function which will update our user variables, user data. So it will take the field name and event. So these are the two things we have to pass, and again I have covered the same thing multiple times in my previous videos, previous project. So the same thing we are doing here. There are multiple ways to update the data, but this is the most convenient and easy way because we are building a reusable model here. Now we have to call this set user, and we have to simply deconstruct the user variable, and then we have to simply take the field and we have to update the value, and that's the pretty simple thing. So that's the handle form input, handle form field change function we have. Now close this one. Now we have to work on an API. So we'll say API login, async function. It will take a E. So we have to say prevent default because we have form, and we'll take a if user email is equal to empty and user password is equal to empty, then we have to throw the error message. So we'll say return set notification, and we'll say please provide email and password. But if he provide the email and the password, then we have to continue further, and we'll say take this try and catch, and we're going to say response because we have to make an API call. So we'll use this await XCS. We'll call the post method. We'll take the URL, the endpoint we have built. So user login, and here we have to send the data. We'll use this with credential to true because we'll get back the cookie, and that cookie we want to set in our browser. So we have to set this property with credential. If you not set this, it will throw an error. It will not set the cookies in your browser, and you cannot able to authenticate the user. So we have to set this with credential true, and then we have to send the data. So we'll say data, we have to send the email, user.email, and we have to send the password, which is a user.password. Close this one. So that's the data we are sending, and once it gets successfully, we'll get a response. So we'll take the response. So we'll say response.data.status because remember in the API, once someone is getting successfully logged into the application, we are sending back response, and it will have a status. So its status will be success. If the status is success, if the response and its status is success, then we have to simply update the data. So we'll say set notification, you have successfully logged in. So this is the notification we want to set, and we have to store this information in our local storage, because that's how we can extract. We'll store the token in the local storage, and on the base of that we will authenticate the user. You have two options: you can set it as a cookie or you can set it as a local storage, but I'll go with the local storage because it's a fairly simple application. And if you really want to learn about the cookies and all the things, so we'll say local storage dot set item, and we have to provide a key. So this is the key I will provide, NFT API token, and here we have to simply set the token. So we'll get the response. In the response we'll have the token, and that's what we are setting. And here we'll say set login false, then we have to say set notification to empty, so the notification will simply removed, it will not display. And then we have to simply reload the browser to set the application values. Else, if response data is fail, then we have to display the error message. We'll say set notification, and we'll have the message as well, because when the request will get failed, we'll set the we are sending the data from the API, and that's the message we have to set here in the notification. And that's close this one, and we have to catch error, and if anything goes wrong in the XCS or the API, and we'll simply console log out the error. So this is the entire logging functionality we have built with our API. Now we have to work on our JSX. So we'll take this return, we'll take a fragment, and we'll take a div. It will have a class. So the same field we have to do here. Class, it will take another div, it will have a card2, then we'll take the form, we'll have a class, then we'll take a paragraph heading, class is gonna be heading, we'll take a logging text, and we'll have to close our p tag. So this is the same thing we have done in the form component or in the donate component. So that's the same thing we have to do. So let me quickly do that. Now we have to simply close that one, and we have to close this field component. We need one more. So let's take a div. It will have a class called field. We have to get the icon, and this time we display the log icon, and we have to pass the class into the log component. And then we have to simply take this input field, and we have to simply provide all of these variables. Type is gonna be, let's say, text, and we have to assign a class called input field. Then we have to assign a placeholder. We'll say password, and we'll say auto complete. We'll say on change. On change we have to simply update the password. Now close this one and close the div, and close this one. Let's take a div. It will have a class called button, and we'll take a button. It will have a class called style button1, and we'll have an on click function. So when someone will click on this, we'll close this set logging to false. We'll take this and we'll say close. So this is the close button we have, which will close the pop-up. Close this one. Now we have one more button. We'll say it will have a class style button2, and it will have a on click function. In that we have to call set sign up. So, and we'll say set login false. So when someone will click on the second button, it will go to the sign up form, and it will close the logging form. And the same thing we'll do in the sign up form with the buttons here. And then simply we have to say here the sign up, and we have to close this one and close the div. Now we need one more button to log in the user. So we'll take a button. It will have a class called button3. It will have an on click function, and on that we have to call the function we have created. We have to pass the e, and we'll say login, and that's it. Looks pretty good. Now we have to close that one, close this one, close this one, and close this one. And here, once the user is successfully logged into the application, we have to display the notification to the user that he's logged into the application. So we already have the notification component, and that's what we're going to render here. So we'll take this, we'll say dynamic block, we'll say notification if notification is true. So this notification variable will be the universal variable. So we'll define that in every single page, and on the base of that we're going to display the notification, and I'm going to hide it. So we'll say if notification is not equal to empty string, means there is no messages in the notification, then we want to hide it. But if there is something, then we have to display. Okay, we have to display the notification component, and we have to send the notification, and we have to send the set notification, because these are the two props we are receiving in the notification component. And then simply close this one. That's it. Then simply close, and we have to export the login component, looking absolutely fine. And that's the entire thing we have to write in the login functionality, login component, and everything is working absolutely fine. Okay, we are receiving all of these props, then we are taking this user data, email and password, then we are updating that one, then we are making a call to our API endpoint, we are checking whether they have provided or not, then we are making a call to our API endpoints, and then we are receiving the response. So here we are receiving the response. Let's open this one. Here we have receiving the response. We are setting the token in the localhost, local storage, and all of these things. So pretty good. Hope everything is making sense to all of you guys. And we have all of this filled. We have the button, and things looks pretty good to me. And we have already written this classes. So if you come back to the donate, and here we have written the entire classes, and the same classes we're going to use in our login component as well. Simply select that one, and that's what we have to paste in our login component CS classes. And here we have pasted. Everything is working fine. Now close this one, close the heading, second field, input icon, input field. We have the text area, category, form button, button 1, button 2, button over, and button 3. So things are looking fine, and this is the card and card 2. Over effect looks good. So the same CSS we are using, and everything would be fine. So save it. Now come back to the layout, and now we can import the component we have written. So what we will do is, I will come here below the form. Let's take a p tag paragraph, and we'll say login. We have to import the login component. Simply grab that one, and that's what we have to paste here. Paste here, close this one, and save it. And this will work absolutely fine. Save it, come back to the browser and reload the browser, and you can see here we have our component. So this is the donate, this is the form one we have, and this is the login component, looking absolutely incredible. Login, all we have to do is to pass the data, and we can log into the application. Pretty good. So this component is also ready. We are doing amazingly. Slowly things are looking absolutely fine to me. Now come back to the VS. So let me close this one, come back here, and that's the only thing I want to cover in this video. Hope you guys have built this entire login component, and you guys have understood that how we have built the logic for making a API request. So with that, I'm ending this video. In the next video, we're going to start working on our different components. So let's move to that.